Lisa Harrison. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to the One People Show on the 5D Media Network. We've got a lot to talk about today, a lot of updates, a lot of news, and we're going to be bringing in various people to make various announcements today. So, first off, welcome everybody. Welcome, Bob.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And sorry about the intro. I'll do it better next time.
Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Well, what I did hear of that song was absolutely amazing. I would have liked to hear the rest, but I guess there's always room for that next week. Glad to be here. Welcome, everyone. I feel like I just moved into a new house, even though it's the same people on the show and the same people for the most part listening. So super excited today and happy to be here as usual. Thanks, Lisa.
No problem. And welcome, Chris.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the One People radio show. And it was as bumpy a start as practically everything else we've attempted in the last few months. So nothing unusual going on here, folks. So it's the one people, the one world, the one future. We're here. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And we're going to bring BZ out to make the first of the announcements today. So welcome to BZ.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. This is all very exciting.
It is.
So you wanted to make an announcement this morning?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that the new One People site is live. It's i-uv.com, and we'd love to have you go on over and play around, check things out. There's lots of new information, new resources. A lot of the old things from the old site is there. And we'd love to have your thoughts. You can send them to thoughts@i-uv.com.
And I personally would just love to send a big thank you and much love to the whole team that have been a part of this. Yourself, BZ, Holly, Tucker, Helen Vita, Ivan Schultz, Kim-Marie Tita, Kempe Dijon, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing half of these right, but Rachel Jones, Beatrice Weir, and Kevin Miller. There's also been some testers involved, which was Sean LeMay, Sue Rhodes, Sarah Beckman, and Peter, you're going to have to say that last name for me, Lisa Herker. Guys, you've all done an amazing job. What's going to happen with the current Oppt-In.com site? That'll stay up and archived?
It's archived in case we need to pull stuff from it, but through some magical last-minute tech stuff with our hosters, anybody who has a link to the old site should automatically be redirected to the exact page that you were linking to. And if for some reason there is some kind of breakdown in the linking process, you still will go to the new live site. So nobody will get lost anywhere, whether it's a Facebook link or any other link off of any blog or website, and you'll get where you need to go.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And it looks beautiful.
Thanks.
By the way.
The team did a great job. They're an amazing team, amazing group of beings to play with.
Well, once again, thank you to everybody involved.
Yeah, big thanks from all of us, BG. I'm going through it for the first time right now.
It's
beautiful.
It's really nice, beautiful.
And I know you guys have been working around the clock making this happen. So gratitude from everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
One last thing I just wanted to mention, that it's like each of us beings. We are growing and expanding every moment, so the site is doing the same, and you'll see more new things tomorrow after I get a little more sleep.
Okay. Thank you. And the email address again for any suggestions you want to make, thoughts@i-uv.com.
Yes.
So, lovely. Thanks, BZ, for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, next announcement. We've got Scott Bartle with us as well this week. Welcome, Scott. This feels like radio, doesn't it?
I reckon.
How are you going?
Oh, very good.
That's
very good.
What have you got for us today?
Right. Okay. So there was a quick update on the database that the guys have been building, the AbsoluteDataExchange.com website. They've been getting a whole lot of traffic over there, and a trickle of people adding contents via the front page. And I've got Swedish and Norwegian governments now into the database, and there's a call out for some more contacts from France, Spain, Portugal, Cyprus, Greece, and Switzerland. And there's only a few as well in there from Germany. So if anyone's from any of those countries and they want to go over to absolute-data-exchange.com and jump in there, this is for sending out the foreclosure flyers to various individuals. So that's the update from in that department.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we'd really like to get as many countries as possible in there. And indeed, on this show, the One People Show, we'd like to get people speaking to us from all over the world, would we not, Lisa?
Oh, absolutely.
We need to get these voices on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Now, the other thing, Scott, was a short update on how your court case, your fracas with the West Australian government, how is that going?
Okay, well, this is the one, Uwe's case, I take it.
And actually, sorry, just to correct myself, it's actually with the bank.
Yes. So this is the one Uwe's going through, and he has prepared the website freespeechaustralia.org, and he's captured all of these videos walking through the process step by step. And basically where it's at the moment is the bank and their lawyers have ignored absolutely every single request for validation or substantiation of the debt, and they're going hammer and tongs straight for possession of the property through the courts. So it's very clear that they are just do not want to look at the basis of a contract. The methodology seems to be, did you sign this document, yes or no? And, of course, they're just pointing to the mortgage contract. Now, to me, a contract relies upon certain things or statements of facts that must be true for that contract to be lawful and valid. Now, what's happening is that the courts are participating in this episode with the banks, and they support the banks and only go as deep as, did you sign this document? Now, the real question that comes out of this is, does my signature on a contract validate any statement of fact that contract is reliant upon? Or are they separate matters that need to be substantiated themselves? And what the bank are doing is pointing at your signature and going, you signed it, you have to pay. Regardless of there being an actual debt to repay, and the courts are supporting that and won't explore to any degree of depth the basis of the existence of a debt that contract is reliant upon. So I suppose where it's at the moment is we've got the full evidence that this is just a full-on slavery system, and the change of tack at the moment is to take them on in their own courts at this point. There's been a very high-profile legal team that's come on board to assist. And there's actually, I think Uwe's set up on his website a support scheme to actually launch some or contribute some money to assisting in that. But they've actually broken down Uwe's case and have determined that he has actually got some very good grounds to take them on in their own realm. The disappointing thing is just the absolute avoidance of any attempt to substantiate the debt. So it's pretty clear that you're in full-on slavery based on those bank systems. Does that cover that, Chris?
Pretty much, Scott. And just one final thing was the need for some funding for this exercise. How are you actually going with that?
I think Uwe's got a donate button set up on his website, freespeechaustralia.org, and he's also running a campaign, a fundraising campaign through. He's got another little widget that he's popped on his website to assist in that. So if anyone like to follow along with the process, check out the videos. And actually one thing that I would like to mention briefly is one observation that we did make is that the demographic of people that we're having or that are asking these questions of their bank presently are those who are not paying their mortgages, basically because they are aware of the fraud going on. And that demographic is a very small number in proportion to those who are paying the mortgages. And what we're finding is that the banks seem to be prejudging you as a criminal because you're not paying your mortgages. It's like, oh, you're not paying, you're guilty. And so any communication that we're conveying to the bank is just being blocked by that prejudgment that, well, you're at fault. And so what we're looking at doing is tailoring a campaign to be able to educate those who are paying their mortgages to be able to walk down to their bank and say, look, I've got this one-page little flow diagram here that has a series of 5 questions on it. Could you please answer these questions, Mr. Bank? And in this instance, there's no blockage to the communication. They're not prejudged because they're all supposedly in honour with their mortgage. And in that case, it'd be very interesting to see what feedback is received. So I think we're also calling for volunteers who are paying their mortgage in that realm and haven't approached the bank separately to go and ask these questions. We'll have a flow diagram up on Uwe's website shortly to do that.
I think that will be a very good thing, Scott, because the not just the fact that the questions are injected into the system and will move their way up to higher levels, but the fact that the person you're speaking to, which will be your bank manager or a loan manager of some kind, will get the memo that things are not right.
Exactly.
And because the criminality is actually coming from their end. But they just don't. They certainly don't acknowledge it at the lower levels of the bank, and at the higher levels of the bank, they know it.
Yeah.
And doubly would never acknowledge it.
Yeah.
The fact that they keep asking, is that your signature? Shows you the value of that signature.
Yes.
And honestly, it's really up to them to prove that she did.
Yes.
You would think.
Yes.
Yep.
I'd say not unless you can prove it.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, folks. The case that Uwe and Scott have prepared is brilliantly documented, and the steps that they go through on the website are extremely educational. So if you want to appraise yourself of some of the fine details, and one of the things that they've concluded, which is really something I hadn't heard before, is that the banks are monetizing the application for the mortgage, as well as playing games with the final mortgage contract. And it's quite a major distinction between most of the previous interpretations I've heard, where the discussion is all about the mortgage contract and not about the application, because the application, as Bob just said, has our signature on it.
Well, they're monetizing everything. They're monetizing the application, they're monetizing the promissory note, and they're monetizing the mortgage. And
it's all our signature.
Because your signature appears on all 3 documents.
There you go.
Well, I went down to my local Commonwealth Bank last week on Friday to hand a little information packet to the manager down there, and I haven't been looked at like I've got 2 heads. Quite like that before.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know what to do with herself, with me. There was lots of shrugging and just looking at me like I was insane. I found it amusing. I kept smiling at her because she was clearly uncomfortable and kept looking at me like, what am I supposed to do with it? And she said, what do you want me to do with this? And I said, just read it. Read it. That's all you got to do. And if you have questions,
who did you give it to, Lisa? Did you give it to the manager?
Mm-hmm. Well, she was caught off guard to start with. Apparently, customers don't just walk into the bank and asked to speak to her for no apparent reason. So she came out with this questioning look on her face to begin with, and she said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "I just have an information packet here for you." I said, "I'm not sure if you've been informed from your higher-ups or whether somebody else, one of your customers, has also walked in here with this." And she said, "No." And she could see in nice big letters on the top of the front page, "Banks foreclosed." So she was like, "What?" And she's looking at me like, why would someone give this to me? And I said, "This is important for you to understand and to know. Please read the attached information." And I said, it includes some attachments to support some supporting documents. And she just kept looking at me like I had two heads. It was weird. She didn't want to take it, and I said, "No, it's important for you to read." And I said, "The one that really concerns you," and I had a blank courtesy notice in there. I said, "Is this? You may be seeing more of these." So I thought I'd better bring her attention to something in particular, and said, "Thanks very much," and walked out. But it was quite funny.
Nice.
Put a smile on my face.
Did anybody happen to hear the audio of Chase Benny going into the Attorney General's office in his state? And
yes,
he recorded it. Because it's just an illustration of the range of responses that people are getting by, plugging those things into the system. Like you got one polar end of the spectrum where the lady just didn't want to have anything to do with it, and the Attorney General, here he is, catering to Chase. Like he took the position of, for anybody that hasn't listened to this, I have the recording on my blog. I posted it last week. He took the position of, well, shoot, I'm glad somebody brought this to my attention, because if anybody else talks about it, I want to know what's going on, so the Attorney General's office can address it. And that was kind of the position that he took. But the funniest part of it for me was when he asked, "Are you a part of this group?" And Chase's response is, "No, I'm just one of the people," because he was trying to kind of corner him as being one of the crazies, or however they wanted to classify somebody as, being part of that movement. I have a train going by. But the more of these things that get out there, whether it doesn't really matter, I guess the response to what I'm trying to say that people give is, that lady, if you left it in her hands, the second that you walked out that door, she was probably reading it.
I think so. I think so. She was reading it. Yes.
I don't think it made it to the circular flyer right after your circular file folder until way after you left. But then again, who knows?
Look, and the more people that do this, the more dents we put into the system. There's a description in one of the Julian updates from earlier in the year where he described energetically the way the bankers feel about these intrusions of information into their little realm is like walking out of their office door and being peppered with shotgun blasts and having to duck and weave around the furniture. And not that we're trying to introduce that kind of meme here, but the energetic effect is there, because that the bank manager that Lisa spoke to, when there is the inevitable object hitting fan event later this year, that person will remember, oh, she was right. That strange person that came in and handed me those things that I couldn't understand.
Yeah, and
there'll be a connection.
The cool part about Scott's site too, for anybody that hasn't gone and checked out Scott's site, is the foreclosure flyer distribution system allows you to put just a mountain of email addresses into the database and send it all out as one big bulk email. So if people are in a place where they don't have a lot of bank branches, they don't have a lot of time, just gather the email addresses of the people at the bank and put some kind of very general or vague subject line so they open it up and send it out in bulk. It's a good way to pump a lot of these things into the system without a whole heck of a lot of legwork.
Thanks,
Indeed.
Brian.
And I just had a note from Uwe that he's about a day away from getting the fundraiser launched off his websites. It's going to be fully tracked, etc., with a fixed goal, which will be great. And if anyone has has, even if anyone donates even a few dollars to this, it would be fantastic, because this is one of the best chances that we've got to really make a dent at legal level in the technique that they're using to run these roughshod through the system. Based on absolutely no proof of a loan being made.
Hey, Scott, why don't you give those two websites again so people can write them down, the one where they can go for UVEs and then the whatever one it is that you can send the courtesy notices out in bulk so people can write it down. I'll share the links in the chat room. I know I posted it on my blog for anybody that's just listening.
Okay, yeah, I'll type them in as well, but freespeechaustralia.org, that's all one word. And the other one, which is not actually my site, there's a bunch of guys around the place who've been working real hard to do this, is absolute-data-exchange.com. And so those guys have been doing great work. I'll type those in for you, Brian.
Cool. And then BZ just put in the chat room, if anybody wants to go to the IUV website, it's under the IUV blog tab. I'm looking at it right now. So everything, all the resources are in there as well.
Yeah,
I think I need to make a clarification. Hang on, Chris, because there seems to be some confusion in the chat rooms. This new IUV website is a replacement for the Oppt-In website. It's not connected to the official IUV exchange system, which we're looking at sometime down the track. And the corresponding Facebook page is connected to the website. So there's been speculation that this means the IUV is launching. No, it's not. Is that clearer?
So I think what you mean is it's not at this moment.
No. This is not the IUV exchange system coming online. This is a website called IUV.com, which is a replacement for the Oppt-In.com website, and it will have its own corresponding Facebook page. So at the moment we've had a Facebook page, up until now we've had a Facebook page called Oppt-In.com. Now from that, two new ones have spawned, which will be the 5D Media website, 5D Media Facebook page, which is related to the shows, and the BZ and the team are also launching the IUV Facebook page, which is connected to the IUV website. So I hope that's clearer, guys. The IUV exchange system is not launching today or associated with this website.
One on top of that, real quick, Lisa, before you go on with the rest of the agenda, I put a post on my blog today. It's it's like a 30-point, it's like bullet points. Ubuntu put it out, talking about all the various things that make loans from banks fraudulent, and it's a really concise, very boiled down list. So it's great. I mean, a lot of people that have been following this work for a few months are going to be familiar with some of these things, but it's a really simplified, kind of really easy to understand list of all the various things that make loans fraudulent. So if anybody is interested in educating themselves on those bullet points or sharing them on Facebook, I posted this on Facebook and like 35 people shared it on their own individual walls. So it's some really good information in there. It's on Brian Kelly's blog.blogspot.com. I'll put the link in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just one final question I had for Scott. Scott, the guys who are building the Absolute Data Exchange website, where are they based?
I think they're scattered around Australia, South Africa, the UK. They've been contributors from all over the place. So it's been a really global effort. And there was one other point that I didn't mention was that I think, people can add their own contacts and assist others to send a foreclosure flyer to those contacts. So it's a good way of networking and getting some support from others to send a foreclosure flyer to those who may be giving you a little bit of grief.
Yeah. Look, the global nature of this is something that's really, really coming out now. And one of the things I hope we can do is get some guests on the show from Europe and South Africa and South America, anywhere. This is the One People Radio. We are on here, and that's how it needs to be. And the other thing for tracking of legal cases, we'll be doing an update with Captain Daryl Zellini next week. He's currently hard at work preparing the next for the next little confrontation he'll be having with the system. And interestingly enough, because it's not a civil case, because this one is actually a criminal case, there's a higher standard of evidence required by the banks, which he's going to leverage. So that should become very interesting. So we'll be doing that next week.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm.
Moving on. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good from here.
Good from here. I've got a few more announcements to make. For those of you who listened to the transitioning debut show with Julian Wells and Bob Wright, which I hear was wonderful. I haven't had a chance to listen to it myself yet. There was a discussion on there in regards to the Sudbury School. Bob, can you talk a little bit about that? Because it brought up quite a few conversations.
Yeah, we had a caller that called in, and I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. But she had a really, really good discussion about how children are losing their creative, expressive abilities through the education system. And she had mentioned the Sudbury Valley education system, which allows children freedom of expression. They get to choose their own course of study. What they get to study what they're interested in and what they want to learn, and a much more democratic way of educating. Now, the site, I'll have to put the website. It's Sudbury, Sudbury, network.org. If you want to learn more about the system. Now, this is it was started in the 60s, I believe, and a group of people. You can get branches in your area, and there's a process in going ahead and doing that if you're interested in having a Sudbury model type school in your area. So it's something that we're moving into, the new education system, which will allow children to express themselves. And we had a really, really great discussion on that show. If anybody hasn't heard it, please go and listen to it, about how in kindergarten, when they test kindergartners for creative genius, and creative genius, that's the ability to think outside of the box, basically. 98% of all the kindergartens test genius or above. The same group in 12th grade, only 1%.
Oh.
Wow.
That tells you all you need to know.
Doesn't it?
Well,
the lady's name who called in apparently her name was Yu.
Yu. How can I forget that name?
I don't know. But what's come out of this
Yu.
is there is some interest in getting a group together in Victoria, Australia, to discuss taking this idea further and perhaps creating or establishing something like this in Victoria. So if you're in Victoria, Australia, and you are interested in at least getting involved in a discussion around this, could you please contact Lee Hu, and the email address is lihu74@gmail.com. And I'll put that into the chat room as well. So I think that I've had my kids at various times in things like Montessori and Steiner schools, but this one sounds like it goes even beyond those two.
I watched a video today, Lisa, and there was a 13-year-old kid on TED Talks, and he's already, I don't even know how many degrees he's gotten, but when he was younger, he was diagnosed as being autistic, and they said that he would never learn and he would never do anything, but eventually, by the time he was 11, he had come out of his shell and was brilliant. He gave this lecture talking about the value of thinking versus education. Because when you're being educated, you're basically being told how and what to think. Whereas if you're just thinking, that's when you make your best progress. And he made all these different examples of people who dropped out of school and just started thinking for themselves, and the innovations that they made. You know, Einstein, you know, Steve Jobs, you know, all these different people. And this is something, I mean, kids are becoming so aware and so awake, and they're expressing themselves. I don't know if I've been watching some of the videos about this young man who basically told the teacher, you know, get up and start really teaching, get involved. You know, if you want to, you know, somebody to get excited about history, you got to touch him in his heart. And the way that they're expressing themselves, because they don't want to lose their creative ability, they realize and recognize that they have value, that the education system, the way it's structured, is basically to make them conform into a society that they know doesn't work.
Mm.
And
I have to tell you, Bob, both of my daughters have made me very proud in the last week. As I shared on last week's show, the interaction with the text message from my eldest daughter when she was in that legal studies exam.
Oh, yeah.
And
something about corporate propaganda.
Yes, she said, I'm being fed government lies. Well, my second eldest she's got a project at the moment. She's got to write a poem, and she was given no parameters for the subject matter. She's got to write a poem, and then she's got to do a presentation on the poem and you know, PowerPoint presentation, describe the different styles of poetry that she's used, and blah, blah, blah. So her subject for the poem is education versus schooling. She said, how do I get up in front of the class, in front of my teacher, and give them this poem that's basically having a go at the education system and have my teacher like it at the same time?
Oh, my gosh. That'll be the best
that's something you just have to get up and do it.
Yep.
Whether the teacher likes it or not is actually irrelevant. It's whether it's a well-expressed poem. If the content offends her, well, then she needs to deal with that.
And that's the teacher's problem, and not the students.
Yeah, and also just one thing I'd like to say, folks, that the content is so restricted. The other radio show that I do on Mondays is with the Walking with Energy crew, Peter and Michael. And time again, I sit there and I listen to this amazing information these guys are coming out with about how the energetic aspect of the body actually works. And all I can think about is our children need to know this stuff. Most of the things that they're doing in the course that they run, the Avatar Energy Mastery School, are about breaking down belief sets that have been rammed down our throats by the education system, about the limitations that we're actually forced upon ourselves. Once you break those down, you get Julian Wells. That's what.
Here's a classic example. My daughter had a test that she had to do, and it involved reading a story and then answering questions on that story. And it was a factual thing about marine life. In one of the questions, she actually elaborated. I think the question was, what do whales eat, or something like that. And she was supposed to only give the answers of the things that were mentioned in the text. But she elaborated and added a few extra things. And she lost points for doing so.
Yeah.
Because she knew more than what was written in the text and gave those answers, she actually lost 2 points.
Indeed.
I was.
Oh my God!
I was serious.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and that's what's happening. The content is now so limited. Our knowledge of ourselves is so limited, particularly the knowledge of the human body, because we all know that the real human technology that our body has been concealed from us for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. I mean, for instance, the whole exercise of the suppression of witches in the Middle Ages. If someone could remind me of what that particular episode was called, where the Catholic Church basically stormed around Europe executing people who had the slightest signs of showing any telepathic abilities.
Salem witch trials?
Well, that was that would have been part of it too.
You're talking about the Inquisition.
I'm sorry, that's correct. Yeah, the Inquisitions. A lot of that was about actually getting rid of shamans, getting rid of people with any sort of telepathic talent whatsoever, trying to get them out of the gene pool. And still today, the information about what our bodies can actually do is pretty much a secret. And I sit there and listen to the stuff that Peter and Michael talk about, and all I can think of is if a 3-year-old child began to be taught how to meditate and what their body could do energetically, we would be a completely different society. The one people would not be the suppressed and poisoned and attacked group of people that we are. It just wouldn't be that way. And the really good thing is that's the direction we're headed in. This information is out there, and the sooner we can get it in front of kids and keep it in front of kids, the sooner we'll have geniuses at the end of 6th grade instead of 1% still holding on to that part of themselves, which I think is an absolute disgrace. And it's one of the things that the whole education system needs to be, shall we say, rebooted in quite a different fashion.
Well, I think the education system is just like the government in the Paradigm Report. I think it's too broken to repair. It just needs to be thrown away and rethought out, redesigned, and built from scratch. It's just so broken and corrupted. And I think a lot of the teachers and those books that they're given, that they're told that they have to teach, a lot of them probably believe the stuff that's written in those books. The worst is that, well, in my opinion, the worst is the way the history books are written. It's just so completely false and off track that it's almost mind-blowing to pick up an elementary school level history book and read about the history of the United States and the history of the government and the judicial system and all that stuff. It's just enough to make you want to vomit.
Well, there's a saying that history is written by the victors, and I'd just like to modify that slightly. History is written by the owners, okay, the people who own that information. And, of course, we know who they are, and we know that they know that we know who they are. So, and this is all part of the shift that we're going through, the absolute data that's getting out there, that the whole system is unraveling before our very eyes. And it's a good thing, because as Brian said, it's too broke to fix. We really have to reboot that completely. And the wisdom game, for instance, is a great example of that, the kind of technology that should actually be in our education systems. And if you haven't heard of that before, the website, I think, Lisa, is thewisdomgame.com.au. Is that correct?
Ooh, been a while since.
Been a while, but it's WIZZZZ, depending on where you're from. DOM game, GME. If you Google that, you'll find it very quickly. It's from a gentleman in Australia who's developed a game which is really about training in emotional intelligence. Exactly the sort of thing that that kids need to do to maintain that incredible creative edge.
What that game actually does, what it did for me, is it really teaches you how to recognize that space that you need to be in order to access your true abilities. You begin to recognize how to tune into that place. And when you're there, the game works fine. You know when you're not in that spot because it doesn't work. But it's such a great tool.
It is, and it should end up in the curriculum of every school on the planet, and my great hope is that it will.
There's been a few requests in the chat room for an update on Project 13. I don't have one other than what Caleb said the other week, which is that he intends to have it up and running by the end of the month. From what I understand, the first part of it that will come online is the Facebook replacement aspect of it. And that's all I know. He did say he'd put a gun to his head if it's not up by the end of the month, so I'm pretty sure it will be. BZ, you've been in communication with Caleb around this a little bit, haven't you?
Yes. Yep.
you know anything more than that?
Not details that to release. No, I mean, basically he's working hard like crazy. He's an incredibly brilliant gentleman, and it will be knock your socks off. He's described in detail what the Project 13 part of it is, and I think people will be very pleased with that. And once he's ready to go live, the IUV team will help him disseminate and also create any kind of tutorials on helping people how to use it. So I know that Heather said in a Skype room that he was coming out to Morocco from based on when she made the comment and the time frame she gave on the comment. I would imagine he's there now to finish up on everything they're working on.
Great. Thank you very much. What else? Okay, I've got one last announcement before we can start taking calls. And that is a lovely lady on Facebook, and I've just got to find it, has got an orchard in Portugal. And it's a, organic farm, and she's running it on her own. And she wants to share this place with other like-minded people. So if you're in the area, if you're in the UK, or if perhaps if you just like to go there, and work with someone who's like-minded, work on a beautiful organic property. There is some limited accommodation there. This woman would also like to spend the European summer travelling the UK festival circuit with a group of people, educating the festival circuit on what's going on. Something similar to what you were going to do, Brian, with your North American tour. But so if you're interested in spending the European summer travelling the festival circuit, there's two things you can get in touch with this woman for. She's on Facebook, and where is it? She's giving me an email address. Hang on. The email address, I'll put it into the chat room, but it is taranais@hotmail.co.uk. So if you'd like to go and hang out in Portugal on a farm, an orchard, and help get that going, or if you'd like to spend the European summer touring the festival circuit, give her an email.
But by the way, I'm still planning my tour. Actually, the Wake Up the World Tour is the name for it right now, which is probably going to launch sometime around mid-July, pending events of this month and next month. But if anybody's interested or has ideas, I'm going to be going around with Jake Ducey, the author of the Into the Wind book, a close friend of mine, and we're going to be going city to city doing something very similar. So if anybody has any ideas or they want to contribute in any way, email me at my blog email. It's briankellysblog@gmail.com. So if you're here in the States and you want to be a part of something like that, let's talk about it. Cool. That's my announcement.
This really is community radio, and this is a worldwide community. So this is awesome. I love it. Okay, let's take some calls. I think we've got some regular callers on the queue here. So we have area code 347. Oh. Hey, is that my Flo?
That's your favorite person in the whole wide universe.
How are you, Zolly?
I'm doing absolutely fine, love. Can't tell you how great I'm doing today.
But that'll do.
Sounded like an extra from Mary Poppins.
Everyone who is not aware.
Well, glad to have you with us.
One and only. Glad to be here as always. Thank you guys for having me. Oh, what can I say that I haven't said already? Guys, thank you guys so much just for another week of wonderful waiting. Oh boy, this IUV exchange, I just saw the website. It looks really nice. You guys did a good job on that. The Absolute Data Exchange website sounds like it's going up and running very well. People around the world are doing and being on so many different levels. What haven't I said that I can say now? I mean, really.
I don't know, man.
I
what
love
have you
guys. I can't stand it. Well, just I've tried to get in touch with a few people, doing and being in my area, but the updates have fallen through as of late. We were looking at a May 15th opening for our headquarters, but that seems to be happening right now, so we're just postponing that for the time being. Few of the people are doing and being, and their situations are moving forward as they've gotten responses back with their courtesy notices. Different things are going on. It's a lot of wonderful stuff, and I haven't done many courtesy notices myself, as I don't see the use in doing anything like that because of the enforcement, however you want to call it, issue where people don't understand things and they just don't want to do it because they don't understand it. So whatever. So I figured this week I'm just gonna relax and not do. I mean, I don't know if I've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Time has just been flying by. Every time this show comes up, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, it's another show. Holy crap! What can I say that I haven't said? More stuff going on and so much stuff to do, so little time. Guys, let me just shut my face. Just zip it. What can I say?
There's never too little time, Flo. You're always in the now. You've got as much time as you need.
Yes, that's all it is, man. Just waiting on people to get the ear on this, man, and come to the Flo and be like, hey, Flo, what do you do? And I say I be, and then they says, let's go do it together, and give them a high five and plow that land, do a little vertical growing, you know what I'm talking about, sun gaze for a few hours, do a couple backflips and continue. Love life. Can't stand it.
Love it. Thanks for calling in, Flo.
Thanks,
I'll leave the mic up.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, definitely.
Bye.
Okay, area code 307. Area code 307?
Yes. This is Jack.
Hi, Jack.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Hey, I got a call from a friend of mine today and I don't know if you guys can give me any advice on this or what, but he has been in jail for, he will not sign paperwork for the corruption in a corporate entity, and they just give him a year extended on his sentence. And he filed a UCC or a courtesy notice into the court before they took him in. Is there anything that is happening out there that I can give him for a little bit of encouragement until other things happen?
What is he in there for?
Speeding.
Holy crap.
He wouldn't sign their tickets. He wouldn't contract with them.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get my head around the fact that they can put him in for a year for speeding.
Yeah. Well, he's been in there for 63 days, and he's been teaching the other inmates in there, and that has really jerked their chain. And so today they had a new sentencing for him, and now they put him in for a year.
Sounds to me like another political prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I'd be asking those questions. Am I a political prisoner?
Well, he's been asking some of the right questions, but they've just been ignoring him. I've been in contact with the guy that's been into the court cases with him, and they just ignore him and just railroad him on through. And he does have a lot of knowledge on what is going on.
Where does he stand if he does sign, but always without prejudice?
I don't know.
Well, Scott or Chris answer that one? Or even Bob?
By signing without prejudice, he retains all of his rights, and they cannot use that document to hypothecate, to monetize, or anything. So it may satisfy both conditions. They do get his signature, but he still retains his rights.
So he does a UCC 1308, and he would be all right?
Yeah, and he'll just sign without prejudice.
Yeah. Okay.
And see if that doesn't satisfy them.
Okay.
Otherwise, Jack, if you want, you can email the details to us, and perhaps we could organize a flash mob and let them know that you're not the only, that he's not alone, that everyone else is watching.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really important. The flash mobbing and the Absolute Exchange website to get the real power of the One People is in numbers. It always was and it always will be. And the more numbers we can actually get in front of them, pointing out that we know what they're doing, the faster we'll be able to get some results.
They really, really hate public exposure.
I thought they could not put you in prison for a commercial crime, for owing a debt.
Yeah, that's a form of debtor's prison.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think they're actually shifting back to that model, to be honest, and they're doing it very, very quickly. It's the impression that I'm getting. Have you got that impression too, Scott, that they want to actually go back to imprisonment for misdemeanors, commercial issues?
Yeah, they're basically, they're not even following their own rules. They are getting that blatant and that desperate that all their own rules are going out the window. I mean, for example, we heard that case of a mortgage matter in Victoria, in Australia, where the actual note was put in front of the judge, demonstrating that it had been monetised, with all the endorsements marked up all over it, and the judge just went, "We're not looking at that." I mean, the blatancy of what's going on is just becoming so obvious that they're basically relying on force. It's really coming down to force.
Indeed. Jack, I'd jump onto the Absolute Exchange website and Brian, if you could mute out, I think there's a bit of noise from your end there. Jump on the Absolute Exchange website and see what the facilities in there are, and see if you can't get a flow of emails going towards the people who are involved in putting your friend in jail and keeping him there. So, the solicitors, the judges, the people actually, even at the prisons, they need to know.
Right. Yeah, they do. Because he tried to tell them that, that this all has been foreclosed on under UCC, and they said, well, we're not under UCC. They're ignorant enough they don't realize that they are.
Well, I think even if they knew, they'd probably follow that line, Jack. But if, once they get told, over and over and over again, they're going to realise that their bluff is up, because they are bluffing all the way down.
And if they do balk at without prejudice, you can just put a V.C in front of your signature, and it's Latin for, and I'm probably going to get the pronunciation wrong, V coactus, which means literally under constraint, and it usually goes by without notice to those who are looking at you signing, but without prejudice will get their attention. So if they don't like that, then just try VC in front of the signature. It's essentially the same thing. It means you're saying.
That really is the way that I do things.
Oh,
if I can just add to that, V.C is another way to do that is putting an ellipsis in front of your signature. It's the same exact way as putting V.C. or under duress, as you said. That's how I sign things. How I've signed things ever since I've become aware of OPPT. I don't sign anything without any ellipsis. So that is definitely something that you can take, and do.
So capital V.C.
I know AK was down at the passport office recently, and he put without prejudice before his passport, and it was like a sit-down, face-to-face meeting, and he said they didn't even bat an eyelash. So I guess it all depends on who you're with, but on that signature line, you're allowed to put whatever you want, so any of the above should work just fine.
Right. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, did you want to say something, Chris?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I think Jack's being a wonderful support for his friend there.
Yep. Okay, we've got area code 541.
I'm definitely. Oh, did I get?
Yes.
Maybe.
This is Maria in Oregon.
Hi, Maria.
I wanted to make a comment quick on something you were just discussing a little earlier, the Sudbury Valley Schools, Sudbury School. That's been in existence a long time, and it's all over. There are a lot of them all over the states. I don't remember where else they are, but the thing about it is that, not only, it isn't that the children can choose the classes they want to take. From about 4 or 5 years old till 18, they just come every day and do whatever they want to do all day long. And now there's no classes, no tests, no, you don't have any degree or, grades, for when you graduate and so forth. But what happens is the children, it's based on respect for the child and awareness that they are an amazing being and they are fully capable of choosing what they want, and they'll go into their right slot. And they do inevitably. They don't teach them how to read and write, but they always learn somehow. And if they want to learn some specific thing, the teachers and the staff, they all just move heaven and earth and everything to get everything to them. And they learn in 3 months what it takes other students in regular schools 3 years to learn. And
wow.
even though they don't have a transcript or something like that when they leave, they can get into any college they want because they just go in and talk to the deans, and they always get in. And it's incredible. It's a total respect for the that self-direction, and I can't remember the exact words, but the woman spoke of the book Free at Last. That's about the Sudbury schools. It's a small book, but that'll tell anybody what they want to know. It's an amazing thing. And there was one other thing about that I wanted to mention. And everything dovetails with, one kid wanted to be an undertaker. Taking helping people in those difficult times, and so they found someone nearby, another, a funeral home where he could apprentice, and you know what I mean. It's the people say, well, gee, people won't want to do this job or that job. You'd be amazed. And they found what they found, and I think this is the most interesting thing. The only students that have trouble going to that school or that type of a school are children who have been in the regular schools because they've lost their ability to self-direct. And they're used to people telling them what they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to think and, which way to go. They have some difficulty adjusting if they start after they've been indoctrinated in those other schools. Isn't that interesting?
Very.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm going to put the link back in the chat room again because people are asking about it. Sudval, SUDVAL.org.
Yes, Sudbury, but it's sudval.org, and it's excellent. In my view, it's the only truly educational system or school there is. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Awesome.
It's truly remarkable.
Thank you, Maria, very much.
Very cool.
And thank you.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
no.
Maria.
You're welcome, Maria. We love you too.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, area code 323.
L.A.? Oh, this has got to be the Mexican amigo.
This is Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, guys. Hey, Brian, this is Robert from L.A. I spoke to you on the phone a couple months ago when we were just kind of getting into the thick of all this OPCP stuff. And
the video guy?
Yes.
Yes, I remember. How you doing, man?
I'm blessed, man. I'm really blessed. It's a really exciting time to be on this planet right now, and I have a couple questions for the group because they've been running through my own mind as I've been figuring out how I want to proceed. This whole thing that has come up has made me do a lot of soul searching, just in the fact that, it's kind of like one of the callers that just came up right now. It's like, beginning with happens and individual people's circumstances, I don't know, I guess you could maybe even call it karma, I guess. People are going to jail. This is where the feet meet the street, like they say, and this is very, very serious. I don't think it has to be heavy or dark or gloomy, but I am taking all this very seriously. And here in LA, we're kind of notorious for having a police force that uses a heavy hand. And in looking at a lot of the cases that have come forth, in Canada and Australia, I've seen people trying to use the legal system to free themselves. And it seems like the legal system itself is the control mechanism. It's kind of like a bird trying to get free, leaving the cage, but still staying in the pedestal. It's like what are people going to do without enforcement, with an E? And who is the enforcement for the powers that work? It's their boots on the ground. It's their sheriff's department. It's their police department. So I'm curious what you guys think about any language that could be maybe modified or adopted in the courtesy notice to steer to local police departments and sheriff's departments, because without them, the banks, they don't really have any power to wield. If they try to foreclose on your house, and that sheriff isn't gonna do what the banks say, at that point, what are they gonna do? So I'm curious to know, what you guys think about the courtesy notice as applied to police forces and sheriff's departments, and I guess in Dale's case, Canada is just reading, it's like it's blocking that it's so it's like,
Robert, I can't hear you very well. Your
I'm having trouble understanding.
Yeah, I from what I could get that you were saying, I mean, it is very much a conspiracy between the financial system and the judicial system, and the two work together so well that's why the system works the way it does. It's because they are in collusion. And the education that we are doing by people walking into the banks, by people educating their banks, by people taking on their banks, but also people brave enough like Uwe and Heather and others who have deliberately put their houses at risk to foreclosure to take it through the judicial system as well, and educating along the way there. We just as it's a two-prong approach against us, we need to use a two-prong approach to nullify that and educate both of those systems as much as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
that's what we can get from what you're saying.
I would just ask that isn't the financial system and the judicial system, I mean, those are all kind of intangible things. They're not things that you can necessarily touch or feel. The thing that you feel is that police baton in your back as you're put into a police car, or the bars when you're put into the jail. Those are the tangible things. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about using the courtesy notice to educate police departments and police departments. Because if we can show them that they are individually, commercially responsible for their actions, at that point,
Robert?
Yes.
Absolutely. Go to your sheriff's department. Go to your local law enforcement. But it's all about the way you approach them. You're not going out to challenge their assumed authority. You're not going out to to be confrontational is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But you want to go out with the attitude of, this affects you too. Did you realize that you were working for a corporation? I didn't. Here's some information. This is what's going on. It's important for you to be aware.
Let me ask you. Let me dovetail on that, Bob, because AK put out I believe it's on the AK blog, where it's a guy approaching a constable. I believe it's in the UK, and he essentially does, Robert, what you're talking about. He hands him. He has a discussion with him about how the government is a corporation, And that process of education is the most valuable thing you could possibly do from all fronts. Because right now it's a grassroots type of thing. It requires. I just came out to my mom's boyfriend about what my work involves, and it was kind of like this secret for a while. Finally, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. That I go to dinners, I go visit my family, I can't openly talk about what I'm doing. So I was just like, I'm lifting the gag order, because this is my work. This is what I'm committed to. I've committed as an individual to be the change that I want to see in the world. And when we all do that, when a lot of us stand up and we do that together, we have the ability to move mountains. And until we get to the point where we can educate the system from the ground up, because it's not going to happen from the top down just yet. And who knows what could happen at any given moment or any given week or any given launch of any new initiative, Project 13. I mean, there's always, we're on the verge of some major things breaking through. But in the meantime, without giving it that waiting energy, I've kind of grown very not fond of the whole idea of I'm waiting for something big to happen. I'm waiting for this to happen, or I'm waiting for that to happen, to have this savior meme be the energy that governs my existence and what I do and how I contribute to my part and my role in all of this. So right now, that commitment to being the change that I want to see in the world is something that I'm out there sharing with everyone, saying, okay, look, if we have 100,000 Chase Bennies that can go into the Attorney General's office and drop off foreclosure flyers, if we have people out in the streets educating their banks, educating their police departments, getting the message out there in a non-confrontational kind of Gandhi peaceful protest type of environment, we have the ability to raise awareness to cause such an energetic shift that it already is so powerful, but it can only gain in power and energy and momentum. So I love the patriots and the pioneers that are coming forward and saying, hey, I have this great idea. I want to go and talk to my local police department. By all means, if you have the intuitive thought to do these things, that means that the energy is supporting you in doing it. And so I would say that the answer to that question is a resounding in all capitals with multiple exclamation points behind it, absolutely yes. And the more people that do that, the further we go, the faster. And all of a sudden we get to that point where everybody knows what's going on, and it doesn't. The whole fact that the media and the government and the judicial systems are trying to suppress it, all of a sudden becomes irrelevant, because everybody knows through the word of power of the word of mouth and the sharing of energy and the sharing of information, the sharing of ideas, and the sharing of collective thought.
I wanted to add on to that, Brian. This whole idea, and Heather really drove it home in our own private conversations. This whole waiting aspect, when you wait, the energy waits. You're holding the energy of waiting. If when Henry Ford, when he first made the first Model T car, there was no Michelin, there was no Firestone, there was no rubber tire industry, there was no infrastructure, there were no roads, there were no highways. Now, if you were to wait for all of those things to be developed, do you think, Ford would have become what it became? He didn't wait. He went and did what his heart told him to do. He started manufacturing the cars, and then the roads were built to accommodate them. And then the tire companies, the petrol stations, all were formed around what he was doing. And this is one of the things that OPPT was a great exercise. When you look at what happened and you look at the doing of the people and what was able to be accomplished and the amount of information and knowledge that was exchanged and shared, I mean, it's been an educational process for all of us in letting go of limitation, letting go of old belief systems, moving into a completely different way of looking at ourselves as being the value. All of these things, once people started to incorporate those ideas, then suddenly they were doing, and this is where we're at. And so for any of you, yeah, there are things that are coming out, but that doesn't mean that you should wait for X before I can do Y and Z. Move ahead, because it is in that momentum that the energy gains momentum.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Bob, can you pull Len Histon in? He's just standing by to give us a quick update on his tour. While we're on the educational theme, which we have been today, he's volunteered to jump in and give us a quick update. So do you have his contact?
Also, while we're on that subject, I can bring him in as well, I think. There are videos on YouTube. I just put a link to one in the chat room. If you go to YouTube and look up Sudbury, you'll find them.
Indeed. Now, the other thing I wanted to add to what Bob was just saying is that the educational power is not just information, it's in the presence of numbers. One of the startling things about what happened to Daryl Zellini when he was put in jail was they moved him every night. They moved him he was in 3 different locations over 3 nights, and they did that deliberately because they were afraid crowds were going to form and riot. They were terrified, in fact. So, based on that kind of information and the fact that they deal with this one at a time, okay, and as an individual, they basically have, they have the guns, essentially. They have the force over you, because government is force, on a one-to-one basis. But as soon as we move as one, everything will actually form in front of us. As Bob just said, if we don't wait, if we act in as larger numbers as possible, we will shape events rather than events driving us. I think that's the key thing. The Absolute Data Exchange website issuing foreclosure flyers en masse is a perfect tool to make the point to all the people you're dealing with that you're not alone, that you've got a big community of people which they also belong to, and you need to make that point strongly when they say, well, what's this group you belong to? And you should say the same one that you do, the one people.
And you don't need to have any particular issue in order to get involved with doing. Print out a few flyers and hand them out to some of your friends. Hand them out to people in the mall. Post it at a bank. Leave it at a library. All of that doing is so important. It's so very important. People, I can't imagine that some of these videos that have quote-unquote gone viral, I can't imagine that any of the people who initially put those videos out imagined that it would do so. They were expressing themselves, and felt that they needed to tell someone, and they put a video out, and all of a sudden it takes off. You're doing, and you're, no matter how small you may think it is, it makes such a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference in you, because you feel as though that you're involved. You feel as though that you're making a difference. You feel as though that you have purpose. And then you get that sense of exhilarating excitement in your doing. And that energy is so fantastic. Chris, you were on that show with Michael and Peter, and you can speak to what the energetics is of all of this, because it is so powerful in those moments when you're excited and you're doing. It's very, very hard to stop 7 billion people who are moving in a certain direction. You just can't do it.
No, you can't. In fact, one of the vital pieces of information we need to get out there is that things like the promise, where they talk about attracting energy to you, are only that whole concept of being what you want to attract. It's not really quite the correct way to express it. We actually project reality as a community, as a civilization. We're projecting this reality. That's the energetic truth of what's actually going on. So what reality are we projecting? Are we projecting the one that the television says we should project? Well, who owns that information? Who wants us to project that kind of reality? If we decide en masse to project the reality that we want, we will get it. Mm-hmm. Because the universe is designed to give us as a civilization, what we ask for. So what are we asking for? If we turned around en masse and simply said to the system, not doing it your way anymore, we're going over here, see you later, they're going to have no one to play with.
Well, that's what's going to happen as soon as Project 13 goes online.
Mm-hmm.
And we all leave Facebook.
Now, it's a little hard to get your head around the concept of the fact that we're projecting this reality. But look at how the Berlin Wall came down. The people of Germany decided that it was time to end something, and they ended it. And there was nothing the authorities could do about it.
It didn't matter how long it took to build that thing. How quickly did it come down when it was time for it to come down? That's a great illustration of where we are right now.
Yeah, I have a friend who was in Berlin at the time, and he's actually got a piece, very proudly got a piece of the Berlin Wall that he went and collected on the day that it started to come down. People were actually tearing it down with their hands.
Yeah.
And the guys with machine guns were standing there just looking at them because there's nothing they could do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the most inspiring thing that I have ever seen, and it's a great example of what we can do when we decide to act in unity. Because if you look throughout our society, everything that they do divides us, and everything that they do is to put into stress on us as individuals, so we don't act as a group, and we don't think as a group, we don't move forward as a group, as one people, because that's their greatest weapon against us, is to divide us. And if you look at the old Roman saying, divide and conquer, they're still doing it.
Okay, guys, before we bring Len out, I just wanted to put a shout out to Jack. Jack, if you send an email to thoughts@i-uv.com with your friends, all the relevant information on your friend's situation, they can organise a flash mob for you and for him. So I just want to get that out there. And Len.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Chris. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Len.
Hi,
Long
Len.
time. So we've been having an interesting discussion about education on and off throughout the show today. And you've been touring the world, I believe, with your wisdom game.
Not really the world. Europe and the US, parts of the US. I had a ball in Europe. It was great, actually. Working with basically my focus was in Hungary to do corporate training, develop corporate training packages, and in Germany to work with education. And I got a foot in both doors really, really well, and I'm quite sure that it'll take a few months to get things together properly, but we're going to do a proposal to the EU about influencing education in Europe, and we've got just the right, it's not a big group, it's just a right group of teachers, and there's a school counsellor, deputy principal, are all pretty keen to get wisdom in Germany and in Europe. So wonderful, really. Yeah.
Wow, actually being part of the curriculum in the school system there.
Well, yes, yeah. It complies 100% with their requirements. There's a little bit of a challenge to make room for it in the schools, but the teachers individually can do that. It's going to work. It's going to work in Europe. And once you get the app going, that's going to help a great deal as well. And that should happen this week. Meeting with the people building the app this afternoon, and we'll get that finished. It's getting to be a very exciting time.
What about here in Australia? Are we any closer to having those conversations with the Australian education system? I can't talk.
When I did the game before, we got into 150 schools here in Western Australia, and some schools made a policy that every class played it once a week. And so I think it would be a challenge because I stopped for 10 years. I think it would be a challenge to kick-start it again in education in Australia, but we can do that. We will do that. It's part of the plan. Mine's a three-pronged attack: education in schools, corporate training, and the app for families. So it needs to get going in all three areas. So it will. It will. I really invite, please, anyone to have a look at the website. In the last 24 hours since returning on my trip, getting over the jet lag, I felt an inspiration to change much of the wording as to what the message we're delivering with wisdom, and I'd ask you to have a look at it, and I'm sure that it will resonate with every person. It's about where we're going as a race, and how we can get there. I've only been listening to the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the show, and it's really great to hear the way you guys are all talking. And I feel grateful that you are talking about wisdom. I do believe it will help people to empower themselves, and I believe that once they truly awaken to the intelligence that we have naturally sitting within us, and it's a very simple process to do, then when it comes to what they should be doing as far as helping the movement, they'll know what to do, and they'll know how to do it. Like, you guys know what to do. You're doing it, right? And I feel that if every person was to truly understand themselves better, then they will know what to do, and they'll have the confidence and the conviction to go and do it, but do it with clarity, do it with purpose, and don't do it in a confrontational way, because that doesn't work. And at the end of the day, I'm truly getting to believe that there isn't an them and an us. It's just us. We're doing it to ourselves. Like, I'm hoping that we'll get to a day where, when you're talking about the Berlin Wall and those guys standing there with machine guns, is when they actually realise that they are us and we are them, they'll put the guns down. They would have put the guns down and helped to pull down the wall themselves. So, one of the things that concerned me a lot about the trip, and if you think about it, in Melbourne, Brisbane, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Germany, Hungary, Norway, Netherlands, back to Germany, every place I went to, and I'm not trying to be controversial here, but every place I went to, I saw lots and lots of chemical trails. I couldn't help but to, it's not something I normally look for, but I couldn't help to see them. And I think to myself, I wonder if those pilots flying those aircraft really know what they're doing. I mean, when they land that aircraft, they're sucking in the same air we are. I mean, they are.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Do they know what they're doing?
Yeah, and your point about us and them is absolutely perfect, Glenn. And we try to bring that into conversations as much as possible. And thank you for reminding me of it, yes, again, because the us and them, it's very easy to fall back into an us and them mentality. And in fact, that's what they actually prefer us to do, because it keeps the division going.
That's the game.
Exactly. Now, we've had people asking about enforcement, and the issue with enforcement is that you're dealing with us. You know, you're dealing with yourself. When you walk into a police station, you're speaking to another one of yourselves, and they've just taken a different perspective, or been forced to, by the circumstances that the system provides. And it's a scenario that's been going on for so long now, we just accept it, but it needn't be that way. It's just a matter of decision. All of these issues we're facing are resolved in a moment by a decision. It's just getting people to that point, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, the way I look at it, if you get a stomach ache, and you get one of those real painful stomach aches, and you're holding your belly, do you get angry at your stomach? Do you attack your stomach? Do you punch it? Oh, you're causing me pain, and do you attack your stomach? No. You take medicine. You try to soothe it. You heal it. Well, they're part of the whole. They're part of us. If it's causing you pain, it's trying to tell you that there's a problem here. It needs medicine. It needs to be soothed. It needs to be healed. It needs to be transformed. Attacking it is self-defeating.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Once again, everyone, the Len's website is thewisdomclub.com. And I actually have, firstly, I want to thank Len for calling in and giving us an update on this. Very timely. Thank you. And I'm glad the tour's going so well.
I very much appreciate your support, and the tour's over for now. I'm just going to finish the book and get the app working and get the corporate training packages sorted out and start communicating with the EU and with regards to getting it as an accredited program. So, thank you so much for your support. Really do appreciate it, all of you.
And we appreciate you and your game. It's wonderful.
Okay. I have to shoot off, unfortunately, but I'll get a copy of this from Trevor and of the show and listen to it later. Thanks again, all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
How cool would it be if we could get a virtual? I want to play that game with all of us on this panel. Is there any way we can do it on Skype cam?
I'm working on that. I've got some people working on that. Hopefully that'll take a little while, but hopefully we can. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
That would be fun. Thanks, Len.
Right.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned an Australian here, James, who is probably the most active doer that I've come across so far, and tried to talk him into coming onto the show, but he was a bit shy. But we actually have him. We have him today. It's very short notice, and I want to say thank you, James. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're there. You've been doing some. Wow, you've notified more people in Australia than anybody else, I'm thinking. And as the topic of conversation seems to be today, the action of doing and of not waiting. Can you just give people a bit of a heads up on what's been going on with you, what you've been doing, how you've been doing it?
I've been really flat lately. I've had a bit of a holiday, but it's just a matter of just doing. I've sent just every member of Parliament in Australia the foreclosure flyer, and
you've sent every member of Parliament in Australia the foreclosure flyer.
Oh, sorry about that. No, I could only with Northern Territory site. It's really hard to get the email addresses together. So only about 10 went to there, but all the other court system emails that I could find, there was a couple of us that could put that together, and we've sent the foreclosure flyer and the declaration of facts and just a few other bits and pieces to all them as well, and yeah.
Wow.
And what's been your responses? Are you getting any?
One, it was from the Ombudsman. It was more like answering to say that you couldn't do anything about my complaint, something similar to that. I think I actually sent that to you, Lisa.
Yep.
As a response.
Now, what about personal
Sorry?
issues that you've got going with courtesy notices?
The Certegy mob, I haven't heard from them anymore. With the police, as far as they go, I've invoiced 6, including the Commissioner. The Commissioner got the biggest bill because, well, he's the head man, I guess, the alleged head man. So the other 5, out of the whole 6, I think 4 got courtesy notices, and the rest is just agent doctrine. So they all got invoiced when they kidnapped me to take me to court because I told them I wasn't going. And I wasn't going to go anyway, but anyway, they kidnapped me. So what I've done is I've notified them, I've modified the courtesy notice to suit what I'm doing with the number plates and what I want to do. I've been followed once for about, I was just up Little Skinny Street. He followed me and he's got a courtesy notice too. He never pulled me up, but I've been seen 3 times, that same bloke, and twice on the road since, and nothing's happened. So what I've done is I've invoiced them, and I'm not after the money, I just want to educate people. So what I've done is just sent the invoices. They're overdue on the 7th. They're leaving me alone, so I'm happy with that at the moment. And if they pull me up and want to push, well, I'll just push too,
So you're driving a vehicle at the moment without plates on it?
Yes, I do have my oath and bond in the car, and all the notices that I've sent, copies of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and at the moment they're just looking at you. They're not pulling you over. They're not.
No. And the plate I've got, it's got Australia in red across the top, so it's pretty obvious, and they all know it. Like, yeah, I made sure they all know it.
So did you do any advanced sort of notification that you wouldn't be using plates anymore? This is what you'd be doing. Did you do any of that?
Through the courtesy notices.
Only through the courtesy.
Okay. Through the courtesy notices.
Interesting. Well
wow.
done.
That's impressive.
Invisible, which is what I was really wanting, you know.
Now there's a superpower. You know, it's funny. I absolute limits. I don't have plates on my car either. I still have the dummy plates or whatever they are when you buy the car, and I just never put plates on because my car is not registered either. And so if I drive by the rules or whatever, if I ever get pulled over, sure, I don't have registration tags, but it's a good way to avoid getting pulled over for expired registration if you just slap a like a Honda or whatever, something that's kind of general and artificial, and you don't draw any attention your way. But man, this guy's he's definitely got the more kind of smack in the face style, you're not going to mess with me approach that I and so many others very much admire. Excellent work, my man. I mean, you've been busy out there. You're when they say that Australia is the most active country, I think we've found our main culprit.
Yeah, we can probably bring it all down to James.
James, as far as the educational side, the policemen you're dealing with and anyone else you're dealing with, are any of them really getting the message? Have you had any longer conversations with them?
No, they haven't really given me that opportunity yet, Chris. And I haven't actually gone out of my way to go and visit them or anything like that, at this stage anyway. But I'm in their face anyway, because I put the plates I bought them off a site that does pressed plates, and they're pressed and reflective. And I bought, I think it was 5 sets. And because if they do, someone does pull me out, well, I want to take them, so I'll just put another set back on, you know, and it just saves them a lot of hassle too, because otherwise people ring up all the time, and so it's more for them to help them as well too, you know.
Indeed. How big a community do you live in, James?
Not as big as Sydney or anywhere like that. It's just country town. A couple of thousand in this one and 3,000 or 4,000 in the other, and it's like there. It's pretty much a major centre. There's heaps of police here. Like they're on the road all the time, you know. And yeah.
So what's the word about you in the community? Are you know, is word getting around like what's James up to? Is it getting the conversation started in the community?
Well, to be honest, they're all worried about me because they think I've lost the plot.
But do any of them sit down and have a long conversation with you about it and try and get into what it is you're doing?
No, I'm too busy. I just stick to myself. I talk to people as they come along. Yeah, you sort of sense who you can talk to and who won't. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But no, I don't really go out of my way at the moment. I've just had a week off. I haven't done much at all. I was going to get a list of all the transport operators together in Australia, and I've started with 120, I suppose. There's a lot more to go yet, and I'll get around to doing that because all these other people need to know too, you know.
Absolutely.
Wow. So all of these addresses that you've collected, they're going onto the Absolute Data Exchange website?
I think all the members of Parliament are. They're actually on the Facebook page. I don't know which one that is now, but I'm pretty sure someone would have put them into the Absolute Data Exchange site by now.
Okay, great. And if they haven't, I'm sure Scott can get in touch with you to get them off you.
Yeah. Yep. I've got them here.
Great. Thank you so much, James. I've been really wanting to get you on to share what you've been doing because I think it's inspirational.
Well, what we need to do is we need to put James inside of a replicator machine, and then we'll be just fine. Sorry, James, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, people, and yeah, just keep doing. Just do it.
There you go.
That's it. Simple formula.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
No worries. You're welcome.
Okay. Wow.
He has been busy.
Yeah, he has been busy. I've been getting emails from him daily or every other day saying, okay, this is what I've done today. And it's like, man,
Wow.
He probably is the reason the corporate Australian world is freaking out. I can probably put it all down to him single-handedly. So, we've got a couple more callers. We've got about 25 minutes left. Was there anything else that we wanted to address before taking on some more callers?
I just want to announce my new show before it goes to the end.
Sure.
Just want me to do it right now real quick? So this is not the new show, the Giggling Show with Judy, which I still need to talk to her about. Judy, I haven't forgotten about you. And we're definitely going to put something together. I'm going to be traveling for the next month as of Sunday. I am so waiting, she says. I know, Judy. We're going to talk, I promise. This particular show is going to be on the Orion Talk Radio Network on Gwen Caldwell's schedule. She has a daily show. She gave her Thursday morning spot to myself and Jake Ducey. Jake Ducey's a close personal friend of mine. He's the author of the Into the Wind book. It's his 6-month journey exploring the world for life's purpose. And it's going to be called the Be the Change Show. So this particular content of tonight's discussion is very relevant. The idea is we're going to have people on every week that have taken a leap of faith into the direction of following their hearts, following their dreams, and actually being an agent of change in a very much changing, very fast-paced changing world. And that's what I've done in leaving my job. That's what Jake's done in leaving his basketball scholarship. And our hope is to inspire others to take a leap of faith, not worry about the money end of things, to know that when you follow your heart, the universe will conspire to make things happen for you to support you in pursuing your happiness and pursuing your dreams. So Thursday is going to be our first show, 9 to 10. I'll blog about it. I'll put it on the AK blog as well, and it's going to be a weekly. And we'll have a guest on each week, various different kinds of guests that have the same stories, a similar story to tell to inspire people to follow the path of their hearts. So really looking forward to it. Be the Change Show this Thursday on Orion Talk Radio. That's all I got. Thank you. Listen in. It's going to be awesome.
Go Brian. Go Brian. That'll be a great show.
And the Giggle Fest show. I can't wait for that one.
Oh, yeah. Judy and I got to talk about that one for sure.
And I've got a
Giggle Fest or the Giggle Ninjas?
It's going to be a combination of probably one of those. Giggle Fest, Giggle Ninjas. Judy, my divine feminine counterpart for the Giggle Fest 2013, live and in the chat room. Lots of goodness. So looking forward to that as well. Lots of fun things, especially all the amazing things coming out on the 5D Media Network with Bob and Julian's show. I can't wait to listen to that and all the amazing things that you're doing. Lisa, big kudos to you and 5D Media Network. Go 5D Media Network. I'm very in awe of the stuff that you're putting together over there. So we got quite the roundup, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live and in full effect from the... All right, I'm done. I'm done being a radio announcer.
Okay, great. That was good though. I liked it.
Moving on.
Okay, what else? I've just gone blank listening to you after all that. That's what I was going to say. The show where Judy called in and we had a giggle fest on the show, Barbara collected all the giggles from the show and put them together in an audio. And it is so funny.
Oh God, I want to hear that.
You can't listen to it without laughing. It's hysterical. So I'm sure she's going to post it very soon. It's great. Bit of laughter medicine.
I can't wait to hear that. That should be our intro to this show. Okay, that's probably more of an intro into the Giggle Fest show, but I still want to hear it. I think we should play it live.
Yes. Okay, we'll do it. Okay, area code 336. Area code 336. Hello.
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 Hey.
Huh?
This is Randy from North Carolina.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, I just wanted to throw a couple things in when you guys were talking about earlier about schools, and and there's a word that completely defines school systems and government systems, which is panacea. They were created to fix problems, and they only create more problems. I just want to throw that in there. But there's one that I saw a movie on AK's website called Solar Revolution.
Oh yeah. I watched that last night. Really good.
I watched it today. That is awesome. I watched it right before the show, and that movie is absolutely awesome.
I will. I'll put the link into the chat room. If anybody hasn't seen the Solar Revolution movie, it's absolutely fascinating. I watched part of it last night, part of it today, and it just talks about so many amazing scientific-based studies on what solar activity does to human consciousness and how it could. The odds are that it's going to be the tipping point that gives us that consciousness boost or upgrade that everybody's been talking about for so long, and it shows all sorts of different supporting ideas and ideologies that support the scientific end of things. So I'll put the link in. It's so good. It gripped me the entire time.
It was interesting how it shows the solar trends to be a comparison to humanity's trends. Yeah, so over the course of ever since I think they documented it, scientists documented it all the way back to 1749, and they showed that the biggest increase of like big global events, whether they be wars or revolutions or 9/11 or any of the things that was like a big global type of energetic things going on. It was like a direct correlation and pattern to all the solar activity for over 250 years. They put the two charts next to each other, and they line up almost as if they're the exact same chart. It's unbelievable. It's unreal. That's the second half of that documentary. I'm just putting it in the chat right now. But
and I have a question.
On them there. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Brian. Have you got the causality in the right direction? Because there is a possibility that the human consciousness field is actually causing that sun activity as well. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if you addressed that in there, but to some point, I have to assume that that would make sense, considering that everything the universe is within inside each of us as individuals. And
well, the sun's very active right now, guys. Very active at the moment.
It is. It's the most active it's been, and I think that the statistics that I saw when looking at the M-class flares and X-class flares is hundreds of years. This is the most active it's ever been. So, if that doesn't tell you anything about times heating up and things going on, if that's not a good indicator, shoot, I don't know what is.
Well, everybody I talk to is feeling like something's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Even the people who you would consider, asleep, know something's going on.
Yep.
They certainly do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who have we got? Oh, Randy, you're still with us?
I'm still here. That's basically all I wanted to talk about, but I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you, Randy. Yep. It's by the way on the American Kabuki blog. It's called Solar Revolution Full Movie. It was posted yesterday, and I don't know if it's a pirated version or not, so it might get pulled off YouTube. So I suggest going and watching it as soon as you possibly can if you're interested.
It's well worth it.
Well worth it. Thanks for calling, Randy. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you. Area code 303. Area code.
It's you again. I'm back. This is you from Colorado.
Hello, you.
Hello, Lisa. Thank you. Chris, thank you. Brian, Bob, thank you for even bringing Sudbury up again. It's fabulous. I'm with you guys. I have been here since December, and I'm just profoundly grateful and appreciative. I just wanted to say something. Thanks to Maria calling in and talking from Oregon about the Sudbury School. I wanted to say one other thing about that, and also on another call, another day, I'd love to tell you about my Safe Parks, Solar Activation for Excellence Parks that I have a vision for. But back to Sudbury. Yeah, that's a real neat thing. I've talked with Hope more about it on her projects. But anyway, the Sudbury model is such that I just wanted to get that out, that there is no curriculum set in any Sudbury school. And that's the beauty, and that's the challenge for so many of the adults and parents, is that to leave a child, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old child, all the way up free, and not having them and being required to attend any classes per se, is almost unthinkable. And that's where there is a big leap of faith, and people do have to do their due diligence in learning about it. But that's really one of the main things. Maria mentioned something about the students who come in from being programmed in a public school or another private school or something, that they don't fit in or do quite as well. And I think from my own experience and knowledge and what I've learned for the last 25 years, that's true to a degree. However, those students, many of them can break through. They can actually break through the stress that they've brought with them. And it's just, they're free at last. And that's the book that Maria mentioned. That's the book I mentioned on Saturday. And it's probably one of the best introduction books for people if they get it at the sudval.org website from the publications department. It's just fabulous. And then the shortest one is And Now for Something Completely Different. That's the shortest publication and probably one of the quickest, a quick read that people could do. And the fellow who's on the little beautiful cover of the book, Free at Last, there's a young boy fishing and another younger boy sitting on the rock looking up at him. And they have a big lake at the Framingham, Massachusetts Sudbury School, the original one that started in 1968. And the father of this young boy, the story real quick, he started to get nervous about his son who only wanted to fish all day, every day. And eventually, though, the boy came around in his early teens, mid-teens, to getting interested in computers. He became a computer genius. And that's the way all of these stories go. The children initiated.
What's that saying go? If you try to train a fish to climb a tree, he's going to be the most terrible tree climber in existence. That could be completely off, but that's the idea, right? I mean, you nurture kids around their passion and what they enjoy and what they bring into their field energetically, and if you nurture those things, they're naturally at some point going to thrive, because what they're most driven to from an energetic standpoint of what they're kind of wanting to manifest in their lives. So why not nurture that? I mean, it just goes back to the point and throw the whole program out the window and start from scratch.
That's exactly what they did, and it's really a word, allow, which is a pretty freeing word. When you allow children to find out what interests them, the staff at the Sudbury schools are not offering subjects. They're not putting it up on a bulletin board. Oh, I have expertise in this area, and I'm going to offer this class today. No, that doesn't happen at all. And that's another big hurdle that many people, especially formally educated people, educators, have to jump through that hoop, and some of them won't do it, but it's a big, big trust. And when you step into it, it's freeing. It's totally freeing.
I've got a question then. Do you call the adults at the school teachers?
No.
And what do they
do
call
not.
them?
They call them staff.
And are those
staff
trained teachers?
And what happens is they are hired, and they're hired by the vote in the school meeting. And so every student there, ages 4 or 5 all the way up, every student and every staff member has one vote. And there is no such thing as tenure. So
But do these people have to be trained teachers, or it can just be the parents of the kids? It can be members of the community. Who makes up the staff?
Well, I think it's a combination, Lisa. Both that. Some of them are trained teachers. Yes, I think some of them are not. And these are private schools, you know. They're not public schools, and so each state in the United States, which is what I'm familiar with where I live, each place has to look into the particular regulations that they need to go by, and just accommodate and do what they have to do in order to found a Sudbury school. And there's plenty of track record out there. And on the sudval.org website, up at the top along the links, you can click on schools. You can see the schools in the U.S. You can see the international schools. And a shout out and congratulations to the Victoria people who are interested.
Yeah, hopefully that conversation will get started down there real soon.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and I'm just happy. I'm just happy to be listening to you guys, and I'm just totally on board with it all.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing more.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm going to go and check that website out and see if there are any in Australia already.
Ooh, I'm going to blog about this. That's cool.
Oh, you're going to...
There's cool videos and stuff on here. This is cool. I can't wait to check this out, actually. Sorry, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Don't mind me, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead.
You're just too funny today. Okay, area code 334.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Carolyn. I'm calling from Jacksonville, Florida.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hey. I had a question about the article that Brian had posted on his blog, the All Loans Are Fraud. Whenever you go and, say, get a car loan, when you fill out that application at the car dealership, does anything happen to that at that point?
What do you mean when you say, does anything happen to that at that point? Can you be a little bit more specific?
The application itself, because I know you guys were talking about the application, they monetize it, or is that just directly with the bank?
I think what they were referring to earlier is when you're actually in a bank applying for a loan. The thing is, when you're in a car dealership and you're applying for a loan...
Actually, Brian...
Am I completely off on this? Because I just got...
No, that application, when you apply for a loan, does get monetized.
But it has to be approved first, though, right?
No.
To get monetized?
No. How many... And just do this as a poll. How many people have ever applied for a loan, been turned down, and then suddenly their mailbox gets full of advertisements for low-interest loans? They get emails and phone calls all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's because that application and the data on that application has been sold. The application itself has been monetized. And quite often they will charge you a fee to apply as well.
Oh, so they sell it as a lead, essentially. Not necessarily to extend credit like through a fractional reserve type of setup, but to sell it as a lead for somebody that's farming for lead data.
I believe they do all different ways. I mean, they'll photocopy it 10, 15 times.
Yeah. No, I knew they sold it that way, but I didn't. What I was referring to is the creating numbers in a computer and fractionally reserving against what they supposedly, allegedly lend you, which is
well, they can do that. They have that option. As soon as you sign a document like an application, a promissory note, or anything, it's going to get a custom number. Once it gets a custom number, it can be traded as any type of security. It becomes a security, and it can enter it into the exchange system any number of ways.
Just because they didn't end up paying you out the money doesn't mean they haven't benefited from it.
Exactly.
Scott just commented in the chat room. He said commercial banks create checkbook money whenever they grant a loan simply by adding new deposit dollars to accounts on their books in exchange for a borrower's IOU. So makes sense.
Yeah. When they do the when is the contract sold through the securitization to third parties? When does that happen?
Looks like Scott's typing in. Chris, do you know the answer to that? I'm not really sure.
After you've signed the mortgage. But okay, Scott, we're dealing with specifically with a car loan here, for example.
Right.
He means the car. It could be. It's probably synonymous. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, the securitization process actually takes place afterwards. That's with the actual loan agreement itself. Because what it is it's the sale of the debt, and I use debt in inverted commas. And that's part of the process, I believe, that they're using to justify that there is a debt. Now, there's a number of folk who will go and argue, the bank sold my loan, or they've sold the debt. Well, if you jump up and down enough about that, what you're doing is you're helping the bank out by demonstrating that there is a debt. So there's two aspects to it. As I see it, there's monetization of the promissory note, and there's securitization of the debt. Securitization is the sale of that agreement off into a mutual fund market, and you can go and check out that QSIP number, as Bob mentioned, and you'll find evidence that they've sold it. The monetization is where they've transformed or converted your promissory note into cash, and there's a document coming out soon that'll itemize a whole heap of quotes from the Federal Reserve Bank. Back to you, Lisa.
Well, thank you, Caroline. I hope that answers your question, because we're down to about 90 seconds of the show left.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, just to recap on a couple of things, the IUV.com site is live, guys. So even if you type in Oppt-In.com to go to where you normally go, you'll be redirected to the new site. Check out the Sudbury videos and website. If you've got kids, if you're interested in getting involved in creating something like that in your area, great idea. Jack, shout out. Please send an email to thoughts@iuv.com with your friends' information. They'll organise a flash mob. What else? For those interested in that organic farm or doing a tour of the UK festival circuit, please get in touch with the email address that I put into the chat earlier, and I can't find it now. She's on Facebook as well, if you look up A Magical Orchard. Also, the Lihu, lihu74@gmail.com for those in Victoria who are interested in the Sudbury School side. I think that's it. Brian's got a new show coming up on the Morning Brew. When is it, Brian, again, quickly?
Be the Change show on Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time on Ryan Talk Radio. I'll put the direct link on the blog.
Great. And love to everybody. See you tomorrow.
Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Much love.